trying. Can't you hear me? I'm sing, sing, sing. Can't you hear me? I'm sing, sing, sing.
We are live. Hello and welcome to Brunch with the Boys. My name is Yolo Akili, and today's topic is Reads My Mother Gave Me. Today is our special Mother's Day episode, and to honor Mother's Day, of course, with all these shady queens that are on the show, we're gonna talk about the reads that we inherited from our mother, whether it is the reads that our mother has given us, where she's gotten us together at times when we thought we was real grown, when we thought we was doing something real big, and mama had to snatch us back, or whether it's those reads that we inherited in terms of the reads that we use that our mama also uses that we got from her. We're like, you know what, I'm gonna keep that because I'm gonna use that with these other folks that try to come from me. Because reads are passed down from generation to generation. If you all didn't know that, it's passed down.
That's right.
There are family reads as well as reads that, of course, our mothers and also our feminine caregivers. So not just like our biological mothers, but also people who mother for us in a number of ways. The reads they give us and how those reads have impacted us, what the reads were, and also maybe how we use them in our own lives. So it's gonna be a very interesting show because clearly I know from all the people I have on here today, they all read so well that I know someone taught them how to read. So I know they can read some well. I'm like, there's just no way it started in this person. Like it had to be generations of reads. Like a family tree of reads. As always, if you want to learn more about Brunch with the Boys, you can visit brunchwiththeboys.org. You can make sure you follow us on Twitter, which is at Brunch the Boys, and of course, if you want to talk about the conversation, use our hashtag, which is BWTV. We are on Twitter every Sunday from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, having conversations about these videos and other different topics. You can find out more, of course, at brunchwiththeboys.org. You can also get the bios for all these people, so you can understand where the shade come from and how the shade is kind of like, being embodied in this particular moment.
I am not shady, okay?
And the first person who says they're not shady is always the most shady. So thank you. Always the most shady. So before I introduce everyone, I have to make sure you all know that I do have the Shade Stone. The Shade Stone is here. Okay. And LLD, we have a new person. I'll wait till I introduce him, but we have the Shade Stone. So just so everyone knows, the Shade Stone is to help us break up, those vibes, those reads, just kind of keeping it very light and compassionate until we get off air and talk really nasty about everybody. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So let me begin by introducing everyone. First off, we have a couple of newbies today, of course. So first off, we have my old roommate. Actually, we used to be roomies back in Brooklyn. Woo! We have Andrew here with us today, or as I call him, LL. LL, how are you today?
I'm doing really, really well.
That's awesome.
I am ready to share the beginnings of the shady factor with my mama, who none of y'all have met. So,
yeah, quite awesome. So just to introduce and tell a little bit about LL. LL is a social worker who just moved to ATL, shawty. After working in New York City for the 13 years doing organizing work with LGBTQ communities of color. He's a founding member of Fierce, founding board member of Fierce, and former staff of the Audre Lorde Project. And he also was a part of Ping Chong's Undesirable Elements play Secret Survivors, a play about adult survivors of child sexual abuse. Leandro also talks lots of shit. I can tell you that as his former roommate, talks lots of shit. Tells excellent stories, very much so. and it's just an awesome person. So I'm really excited to have him on. He's just a very warm, bright, just awesome energy, and so thrilled to have you a part of the Brunch with the Boys family. Thanks for coming through, LL.
of course, thank you for the invite.
Woo! All right, our next newbie that we have on the show is none other than Amir Dixon. Well, first of all, let me just say that I had to call his agent and Because they were just like, they were giving me the runaround. They were like, oh, no, girl, no. Who is this? YOLO what? No.
Absolutely not.
so,
Absolutely not.
once I got through his agent, you know what I mean? I had to ask for some favors, some political favors, some House of Cards kind of things I had to go through.
Is that what happened? Did you?
I don't know what is he talking about. I don't know.
It's true. I had to sleep with some white men and do some other things. And it was all right. I got him on the show. He's on the show. Welcome Amir Dixon to the show. Hi, Amir.
How are you?
Good. So Amir is an award-winning filmmaker and activist. He's the founder of New Nation Now Productions. In 2011, he produced his first full feature documentary, Friend of Essex, which he won the Black Pride Heritage Award film for excellence, and was also named one of the Advocate magazine's 40 under 40. So this is all the reasons that his management gave me that I really couldn't connect with him. It was like, no, girl, no, you can't. So Amir is also the youngest board member of the Hispanic Black Gay Coalition, which does amazing work out of Boston. And it's the only organization in New England geared towards the Black and Brown LGBTQ community. So does a lot of amazing work. He's a international superstar, and we are excited to have him on. Thank you, Amir, for coming through. We appreciate you making time out of your schedule.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome, man.
You're going to be acting up today, I can tell already.
What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. This is just
all right.
And of course we have our returning and reigning Shade Queen, who organizes and orchestrates all the shade behind the scenes on Brunch with the Boys. Kenyon Farrell's back with us. Say hi, King.
Hey, I'm in my, Easter powder blue pastel.
Yes. I'm a little disappointed, Kenyon. Like, this is before Easter. You should have what's your Sunday church hat? Like, I was really expecting you to give me, with the egg. With egg or something. No. I mean, what's happening?
No.
But to finish Kenyon's bio, Kenyon is, of course, the current Global Policy Director for Treatment Action Group. He's the former Executive Director of Queers for Economic Justice. He is a writer and an organizer who has spoken at pretty much every university that you can imagine. He is he calls himself your favorite Butch Queen's favorite Butch Queen, which means since I'm your favorite Butch Queen, he's my favorite Butch Queen.
Yeah.
That's actually what that is.
There you go.
So it's always exciting to have Kenyon on with us and here today. So thank you, Kenyon, for being here. You're awesome. All right, so let's get started. Once again, if you are tweeting about the video, the thing today is reads my mother gave me. So let's start talking about it. What are some of the reads that your mother gave you?
Wow. Well, I'll start. I have so many reads that I have inherited from my mother. My mother is a very my family in general is really funny, and people are funny and also kind of politically funny. Like, people make jokes politically that they so we family gatherings are always an entire mess. But I have a few different reads I'll talk about my mother gave me that are all kind of related to kind of all things queer, right? So my mother, we sort of laugh now about, the fact whatever. She knew I was one of the kids before. And she says that she thought so before I was actually born. That she actually, got a whole kind of message around a whole different set of things about my life that would happen, and many have actually turned out to be true. And one of them was, that boy in your belly is going to be one of the kids, right? So,
I'm really curious, Kenyon. Was that did she have flashes of BGZ profiles? Or what was the exact thing that happened? What was the exact thing that happened?
Funny you should mention. So I'll say, so the first kind of shade. And for viewers who are watching who are not familiar with the difference between shade and reading, right? So you should go and Google shade and reading and watch Dorian Corey from Paris is Burning. But this was more shade than a read, right? So my mother, I tell the story a lot. When I was like 14, and Tongues Untied was just about to premiere on PBS, and it was a whole big national scandal or whatever. And people in Congress were threatening to cut, funding from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting because of, the Marlon Riggs film Tongues Untied. And my mother used to always make us watch a whole bunch of shit when we were kids. Like, we always had to watch All the Eyes on the Prize.
Oh my God, my mom too.
Right, all of that kind of stuff. And so, we had to watch, Tongues Untied when I was like 14 years old, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember at the time when we watched it, I remember thinking like, this is like a lot to be watching with my mother, and feeling like a little bit exposed in that way, although she didn't really like say anything at the time. But later, when I, eventually, came out to her, and I remember once bringing it up to her, she was like, I was like, I remember you made us watch, Tongues Untied, when I was a kid or whatever. And she was like, yeah, I knew what the hell I was doing. I knew who my child was. So, thinking about that. But since you bring up BGC and just whatever, so my mother is also, she talks about, sex and sexuality with no problem, a little bit too much. And so this happened maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I was had been on a date with this guy. I think it was our second date, who turned out actually, as a side note, to be a relative of an infamous African dictator that shall remain nameless. But that's a side story. So anyway, we went out. At the end of the date, he was so drunk. Fall down drunk. And that was just such a turn off to me anyway that I just decided, whatever, I don't really need all of that. But I ended up having to take him home because I knew he couldn't have gotten home by himself. So anyway, so I stayed at his house. In the morning when I woke up, my phone was ringing, and first it was a text from my roommate at the time, my friend Chris, and Chris texted me and said, hey, your mother just called the house, but I told her that you went to work today, right? It was a Saturday, and whatever, so, call her whenever you get this text. So as I'm reading the text, my mother calls, right? My cell phone starts ringing. And so I don't answer it. I let it go to voicemail, right? And then, I got up and, left his house, whatever. And as I was walking to the train, I listened to the message. And, my mother, people in my family call me Kenny, right? So she's like, hey, Kenny. She was like, I just called the house, and Chris said that you had gone to work today or whatever. You need to go into the office. And she said, no, I don't know why in the hell Chris tried to lie. I know my child. I know you asked him to come home last night. She was like, so whenever you come out from wherever you at, call me.
Oh, no. Hilarious.
So I called her, and I was like, I just got your shady ass message. I was like, why is it my business? And she was like, she's like, I can tell you outside already. So she's like, so you can say whatever you want, but I was right. Whatever.
Wow.
So we had a whole kiki about that. But yeah, my mother is very shady, and I inherited lots of my shade and reads from her.
All right. Bless the shade. Bless the shade. Bless the child that's got its own shade.
So I think when we were talking about what the topic was going to be for this episode, I was thinking to myself it could be a number of sort of reads or shade my mom is throwing at me, right? So the one thing that I automatically thought about was I was dating this guy, like a while back, and my mom had came to Boston to meet him, and my mom was like, met him, said hello to him, whatever, and then went into my bathroom and was like, I need to talk to you, and was just like, listen, you need to break up with him, and just like reading him for like filth and dust, and was just like, this is horrible, like you're making a mistake, and just was like doing that. And like to me, I was just like, well, mom, like why are you throwing like shit? And I really said, I was like, mom, like why are you reading him and why are you throwing shit at him? And the thing that I took from my mother when I explained to her what reading and shade was, is she said that the truth cannot be a read, the truth cannot be shade. And that is something that I've taken with me since then. But that was one of the moments that I really thought about, where my mom just really kept it real with me, you know, and was just telling me, like, listen, you're making a horrible mistake. You're wasting your time. He is a waste of your time, and you need to break up with him. So I love my mom. So, yeah.
Can we talk to your mother about like copyrighting that statement and making that like our what is that? Our, right. Like, what was it again?
But no, I'm thinking about this really because she didn't know what shade and reading was, and she's like, "What is that?" And I'm just like, "This is what shade and this is what reading is." She's like, "Listen, the truth cannot be shade. The truth cannot be a read." So I was like, "Well, my mom said it, so it's the truth."
Wow. I think that's going to be on the back of our T-shirts, and I'm going to quote you. Your mother's going to be the quote on that. Okay.
I'll buy it. Okay. Brunch table.
Right. Wow. That's awesome. Like, wow. That's definitely, wow. That time when your mom just comes and, like, you know, brings it to you. And, like, would you feel it when she said it? You felt it, right? You felt it.
Oh, hell yeah. I was like, oh, God. Because I'm telling you, when I've dated guys in the past, like, my mom would always call it. But I'm always like, no, mom, like, no, you're out of your mind. And then it always is like,
true.
The truth. So, yeah.
Wow.
No, I think it's interesting the themes that the stories we're telling about our moms and how they read us is about relationships. Because mine is a little bit similar in the sense of like I remember so many years ago as a younger cute queer person, I was like in my bedroom in Brooklyn in the same house that Yo and I shared together, apartment we shared together, and my mom was visiting, and I was telling her about like polyamorous relationships, and I had gone on about this diatribe about how messy it is and how fucked up people get and just like how people are not honest and not real and just like the whole narrative around like all the problems with poly stuff. And she looks at me up and down and is like, why are you lying to me and lying to yourself, first of all?
Wow.
Your whole life is full of poly. She's like, how many like emotional like friendships and intimacies do you have where you're taking care of all these people and you don't even have time to call me because you're so up in everybody's life? Like, so you're poly, honey, and like I've known that for a while. She's like, mijo, don't even try it with me. And I was like, okay. And she's like, so let's like backtrack because I don't know what poly is, but you're in everyone's life all the time and you don't ever call me because you take care of this drama and that drama. And she's like, I don't know if you really having sex with them or not, but you know. And so it was like that moment where she reminded me that poly can be not just about how many people you're like dating or fucking or having different kinds of relationships with, but really about that like poly is about like how you have all different kinds of relationships. And she just was like, she's like, just don't lie to yourself, you know, like that same moment when like when moms are like, this person's not good for you. It's like she's also like, don't lie about the kind of life that you're living because there's nothing wrong with it, but don't stand in front of me as a person who gave birth to you and who taught you a lot about like intimacy and love and connection, that like that's who you are, you know? And so I was like, oh, okay. And so from that moment forward, I think I just was really like, oh, okay. So my mama read me around just being honest with myself. That part about that your the truth is the truth, and there's no longer any deceit in that. So it was like a funny moment, and I was just like, wow, mom. And so she's like, I don't understand it. I don't really know. That's like a whole lot of work. But if you want to, just be clear about it and don't try to just don't lie to me. was the crux of the story, And so it definitely made me think a lot about, one of my best friends, Ryan and me, we call each other wifeys, and she's like, yes, I approve that. And she's like, I don't need to know whether you do it or not. And we don't, but she's like that, for me, she was like, for me, she said, that's like one of your best relationships, so, but it was funny how she come to these things on her own and how she was like, that's a real relationship. Okay.
I feel like your mother was like, boo, you've been doing stuff with your friends talking about you playing house for a long time, boo. Like, honey, I see. She's almost something. Since she was little, you've been doing. I know you've been doing the booty with your friends. It's all right.
Well, that's why she was confused when my actual lover and my best friend share the same name, and she's like, I don't. Can you list different people's names, or can we call them something different? And I was like, I don't know. Us trans masculine people, sometimes we like to have the same name, and it's kind of unfortunate,
I love it though. I think that's really profound that your mother was able to acknowledge that this is your loving pattern. I can feel that and I sense that and I know that from you. That's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, because particularly as a dyke immigrant mom, she's seen a lot and gone through a lot in her life, and so she's always like, don't ever not tell the truth in front of me. Don't tell a lie to yourself. So I'm like, okay, got that.
It's like one of my favorite writers says, Trina. She says, don't expect to oh, you know what? It's not that. I'm sorry. That was not for real. He said, don't play yourself. That's the message. Right. Also going to have a bunch of the boys' T-shirts.
You can't. See, when I get to quoting Kaya, you can't get mad at adding those shades.
Okay. First of all,
I am very quick to quote Kaya.
You are quick to quote Kaya. I've been introduced to many Kaya songs. So first of all, I used to wait on Kaya at a restaurant. Actually, when I used to work at Red Lobster, she would come in and I would wait on her. She was a great tipper. She was always sweet. But I definitely did not know as much of her discography until I met Kenya. I was like, oh.
That's very true.
Sharing this song with me. It's just, there are songs that Kenyon has sent me that I can't even quote on this because it don't make our rating NC-17 or whatever that is. That whole.
I'm thinking the same thing though. There's so many songs. I'm just like, oh, I couldn't say that on here right now. Kenyon has played that I'm like, I can't even go there.
There are Kenyon sent me some Kaya songs for the theme song for Brunch of the Boys, and I was like, Kenyon, I can't use my neck, my back every time we come onto the episode. Kenyon, I love you dearly, but it's just not gonna work, baby. It's not gonna work, baby. It's not.
It'll have a whole new meaning when we all get to an age where it is really about our neck and our back.
That's all I can do. I can't.
And we're gonna be like, oh wait, baby, I need some medication.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why are you tripping?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So I have my story. So my story is more about the read that I inherited that my mother constantly gives. So my mother's a Gemini. She's an air sign.
Ooh.
And my mother has this really interesting way of, Kenyon calls it, this is what Kenyon tells me about myself. He says, Kenyon says I don't throw shade, but I just plant palm trees all around me and then wonder why it's so shady. And when Kenyon first told me that, I thought, I was like, what are you talking about, Kenyon? I'm not shady. I don't plant palm trees. But then I realized that that's what my mother does. Like, there's just like this kind of wall of trees around her that she kind of like strategically hides behind, or just kind of like, oh, I didn't really? Is that what's happening? Oh, I had no idea. And I am very good. Kenyon can tell you. in certain spaces for really giving the like I didn't know read, which is like really a read, like, you know, like, oh, I had no idea that was happening, like, you know what I mean, like, really, like, you know, saying something, just kind of pretending to be very oblivious and being oblivious as a read, right? Like, you know what I mean, like, you know, you get the interview, you know, I get an interview and somebody's like, oh, how do you feel about so and so? How do you feel about Mira? Oh, Mira's wonderful. How do you feel about L? He's wonderful. How do you feel about Kenya Farrell? I don't know. I don't know him. I don't know who
I don't know that person.
That's the Mariah Carey, J. Lo. I'm sorry, I don't know her.
I don't know her. I'm sorry, I don't know her.
Look, I don't know that individual. Never heard of them.
Right.
And that is definitely my mother's kind of MO about everything that she doesn't want to deal with. And I generally find myself doing that sometimes too. It's just like a little bit of a shady read. People call me like, did you hear about so and so? And da-da-da. I'm like, no, I didn't. Oh my God. No, I did not know that. I didn't know that.
I remember that you said that too. I remember that you said that.
Why you say that?
If I ever call you in the future and you give me that, I'm gonna be like, you shady bitch. I can't.
It's hilarious, but it's the, you know, it's supposed to get, it's the generational read, the read you inherit, the read that's passed down. So really funny and kind of hilarious. So if you're watching, I want to make sure that you join us on Twitter to share about the reads your mama gave you. What are the ways in which your mother reads you? What are the ways in which you often do the same kind of reading that your mother does? Share those with all of us. Of course, you see all our Twitter handles will be on the screen, and we're going to continue this conversation. Now, this is a short brunch with the boys because I have to go see a man about a horse.
I got it here.
But
I'm like, what's going on?
I know.
and you know, we're working on our format, so we're just shortening the format and having stories. But you'll be able to engage each of these individuals on Twitter and on Facebook, and you'll also find more information about them. And we can keep this conversation going about sharing the reads your mother gave you. Let's see if it gets, let's see just how, you know, once again, make sure you have a shade stone handy, so just in case it gets a little ridiculous. First of all, your mama will snatch you up if you get too much. So don't do too much, okay? Everybody knows that, right?
Yeah.
So don't get snatched up. Keep your amethyst, keep it right, girl. Just keep it right, okay? Just keep it right, okay? Because you don't need that in your life, all right? I want to thank all of the brilliant and beautiful men for being on here. Thank you, Amir, for taking time out of Hollywood. I know that was really difficult. Thank you. Thank you, Kenya, for being here, as always. Thank you, LL. Thank you. Welcome to the Brunch with the Boys family, to both of you.
Thank you for having me. It's been amazing.
Awesome, and I hope to have you both back on. And I'm going to mail you all shade stones so we can all kind of help break it up a little bit so it'll be quite a shade.
Yes, there we go.
Do it.
All right. Awesome. Once again, find us at brunchwiththeboys.org, BWTB, and thank you so much, guys, for joining us. And you all have a great day. Have a great day. Bye.
Got a power that they tried to take, couldn't take. Try every day to take it away. Like a tower.